This is a 2007 Chevy Express. It is a work van that my wife's office is going to liquidate. So I have a unique opportunity to go over how to prepare a vehicle to sell on eBay Motors and how to get the most out of it. So this van has 130,000 miles on it, and it's seen some it's seen some days. It's a work van, so it's not been garaged. It's got a lot of really rough paint. Somebody has gone with a spray can and just to try to prevent rust, which props to them for preventing rust. They've just kind of sprayed it with rough paint. They didn't prep it at all. There's a lot of paint that's literally just flaking off. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the steps that you should take when you get ready to prepare a vehicle to be sold online. The real thing about selling a vehicle online is that people don't have the ability to walk around and kick the tires and look at all the different things that they want to see that would take a car to make that vehicle fill whatever needs that they have. So what we're going to go with on this vehicle, I just wanted to get a good walk around before on the sort of a before. We're gonna go through all this rough paint. We're gonna sand it down, prime it up, make it look a little nicer. I mean, yeah, when you spray in something, use a little tape. Come on. So we're gonna clean all this up, and then we're gonna give it a once over and catalog. I'm not gonna fix anything on this car. We're just gonna clean it up to make it look a little more presentable, and then I'll go through all the steps of what it takes to list something on eBay Motors. So that's what we got going on today. So aside from being a work van, and in this case it was a delivery van, one of the other things that's kind of unique about this van, it's a 2007 Chevy Express. It is what's referred to as a standing height van. If you get to the inside in here, you can see that the roof has been cut away, and then a subroof has been added onto it to increase the height. Now that makes this van a little bit more marketable in the secondary market, because a lot of people take these old vans and they convert them to like mobile homes or mini houses or camper vans, because they have room that you can get in there and stand up. It's about it's not 6 foot, probably 5'5", something like that you can stand up in there. But it's workable for a short person, or even just a typical person. You can walk around in here with your head bent down, but it's manageable. And my gosh, look at all the potential. There's you could put all kind of shelving in here and still have a lot of space between the bulkheads. And it's got it's got a jack on it. It's got everything that you need to make this van into something different. So that's kind of an advantage with this vehicle. I think it's going to clean up real nice. All right, so first thing we're going to do here is we're going to get all this nasty spray paint off of here and make it smooth. We're going to sand off the bad stuff, put some primer on it, and then we'll see if we can touch this up. That'll be the first thing. Let's get this paint looking more like paint and not like gravel. So our little sanding project became a wet sanding project, not by choice. Looks like we're gonna have a little bit of rain here, but you can see the progress that we've made, smoothing out all of the little patch jobs, and you can see we're gonna primer this after it gets nice and dry. We're gonna primer it up, and then we're gonna sand it one more time to just lightly block it. Again, we're not looking for a Barrett Jackson here. This is a work truck, but we want to protect it against rust and make it look good at 10 feet. It's the 10-foot paint job. That's what we're going for here. So anyway, we got this whole other side to go here. You can see some of the stuff that we're dealing with. There's a bump. It's a ridge, and some of it is layers of stuff that's been chipped and painted over. And so you just have to scrape all this off and get it flat again, and then we'll get it patched up. As soon as it stops raining, we can get back on this.
So here's a little side project I'm going to be working on while we do this van rescue. I'm going to be filling this hole in the driver's side. Here's the driver's side seat with a little foam. Get that at any Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I have some burlap, or maybe this upholstery fabric may work as a support beneath it. Well, let's see how it goes. Okay, I have two options here. Just going with the cream. This isn't going to be the same color or pattern, but I think this is actually going to be better. The reason we're doing this is if you try to stitch these together, first time someone sits on it, they're going to pull it apart. There is actually some missing fabric, so we can't get it all the way back together anyway. So we're just going to have a little strip of this showing, and we'll trim off some of these edges after we get there. So I'm going to set this in place, and we're going to see how it looks. Okay, I have this settled in here. What I'm going to do is we're going to put just a spray of spray adhesive in there to help us get started. I am going to stitch this in once it's set in place, but this will just help get it a little closer and hold it still for me while I'm doing my stitchery. You're going to want to hold that and let it set. If we don't reinforce it with stitches when someone sits on there, it'll probably just lift right back up. But this will give us a start. Kind of hard to get it upside down. Okay, let's let that set for a bit. Okay, so we've got some Gorilla Glue holding these in place. And before we trim off all this little fringe, I'm going to take a nice thick thread and a big old needle, and I'm going to put some stitches in here just to hold it in place. People sit down, it'll last a little longer. I want to start from the bottom so that you hide your knot. And going through this thick of fabric is, oops, here we go. Can hide our knot a lot. I'll trim that off when I trim the rest of it. You're going to want to keep those stitches really small so you don't see them. And you're probably going to need a little help with these stitches because you're going through a really thick fabric, two thick fabrics and some Gorilla Glue. So I'm going to use some pliers, and you just push it through till it gets far enough that you could grab it, and then, oops, sorry about that. You're seasick. You can pull that through. So I've got a little stitch. Now I'm going to go back and hit that stitch again. If I had this in gray, it would probably look a lot better. But we're going to try and keep our stitches small. Gorilla Glue really slows it down. Now you can see there's some small stitches, but they kind of disappear into the pattern. once I'm all done, I'm going to come back and I'm going to trim off all this stuff. And yes, it's a different pattern, but much better than the hole that was there. I'm going to continue this on my own. Okay, so now I have stitched. You can see some little stitch marks all the way around. And we have also Gorilla Glued, so it shouldn't come up. We're going to let that set overnight. And then I'm going to come back and trim off all this fluffy stuff all around. It's not obviously not an exact match. I think I'm going to get some gray Sharpie, and maybe if I can darken it a little bit to make it match a little better, but it's definitely not a hole.
So let's do some cold engine checks to see how the maintenance on this vehicle has been. So first, let's look at the air cleaner. Really easy, accessible right here. Pop this little thing off. Get a look at this air cleaner. Oh, well, that's in good shape. There's not a lot of dust in there. Looks like it's been well maintained so far anyway. Close this up. I'll come back to that in a minute. It's kind of a two-hand closing job. All right, so let's have a look at the oil. The engine oil on this is 5W30. You can always tell a lot from an engine by looking at the engine oil. The level is one thing because you can always mask that. But looking at the actual engine oil, it's nice and clean. We can wipe this on this little rag right here and get an idea of what kind of engine oil we're looking at. Alright, so you can see the oil is nice and clean. There's no metallic residue. There's no dirt or anything that came up from that. Let's go ahead and pull the transmission dipstick and see what that looks like. And it's one of those things that, you know, you check it with the engine hot in park, but we're not going to do that right now. We're just going to check the status of the oil. Alright, so here's the transmission oil. It's nice and clean, so that's a good thing. You can read it really well. Let's get a little bit on this towel, and then we'll evaluate that once we put it away. It looks nice and clean. Alright, so here you can see the transmission oil. It's pink to begin with, but it doesn't have any particulates or anything in there. It's nice and clean. It's clear. So that's a good solid transmission. Just from initial looking, it looks like we're pretty good to go. Now looking at the coolant, what you can do on a coolant is if you have access directly to the radiator, if you look down in there, what you're looking for is an oily sheen, and that doesn't have that. So that's really good. We're clear with that. We have a nice engine coolant. There's no leaks. Let's get up underneath the car and see what it looks like under there. Okay, so what you're looking for when you crawl under a car, you're looking for historical leaks. If there was a leak that was damaged, that had been repaired or anything, usually you'll still see a big globs of dirt and oil that have collected in there. I don't see any of that on here. This all looks really nice and clean. There's no leaks on the cooling system. Everything looks pretty good. Let's see if we can get in here and see underneath the engine. That looks pretty clean too. I'm looking at this from afar. So that looks pretty clean. You don't have a lot of oil on the cross members, so that's good. It's not dripping across and then, being a problem. We've had this parked in our driveway for a while now, and it hasn't caused any leaks or anything to form underneath. Let's look at the middle and have a look at the exhaust system. From here, it looks like it's in good shape. All right, so going in from the side, see the oil pan looks nice and clear. There's no issues here. The exhaust pipes are sound, they're in good shape, there's no rust. You can see the catalytic converter, or the O2 sensor right there. Easy to get access to when you need to change those eventually. And here's a catalytic converter right there. So that's all really good. No problems with the exhaust. Now moving down to the muffler. tracing the exhaust system down, everything looks pretty good. No problems here. There's your fuel tank and the fuel pump all right there on the side. Big old fuel tank. Look at that thing go so far. Yeah. Moving on down. Exhaust looks pretty clean all the way back here. There's no leaks on the differential. Even the suspension looks pretty good. I don't see any wear, unusual wear, or even the shock absorbers look like they're in good shape. They're not leaking. And there's a nice spare tire. It's got a full tread. That's the other thing about this car is the tire availability. It's still got plenty of life on these tires. So that's a big selling point too. So, you know, when you're looking at a car and you want to evaluate whether, you know, the mileage isn't everything. Sometimes it's how heavy those miles were. I wouldn't say this thing's been babied. It's a work truck, but it's been taken care of and maintained really, really, very well. All right, let's get up out from underneath this thing. So that's the end of day one. Had to dodge a few rainstorms, but we were able to get it taped up. We sanded off all the nasty old paint and patches and reprimed them. And tomorrow we'll do some finish sanding. Some of these surfaces are really high profile. You're going to see them while you're driving, so we're going to make a really good job on making those look really good. So we'll do some finish sanding, and then we'll paint those up to match the existing paint. That'll be kind of tricky. We'll have to go over that. There's a little bit of post painting that you can do to help to feather that. But this is a great little project. It's coming along really nicely. So this is the end of day one. We'll see where we can pick off tomorrow. All right, so day two on this project. You see we're going through and sanding the primer just to knock off any of the high spots. And you can see there are some high spots on here. All we're trying to do is get a good average between the high and the low so that when we finally get our final spray on here, you won't be able to see it through the sheen. So you can see, I'm just kind of going through. We're using actually a much higher grit. This is a 400 grit now on top of this this primer. And it's a good thing. Running the machine, it actually chipped off a piece of paint here, so I got to start over on that one. But it just, we'll give it a quick spray. By the time I get back to it, we can go ahead and sand that second part off. But I want to show you what it is that we're looking at. This is unsanded. Let me see if I can capture this on the video. You can see there are some blemishes and flaws. You can see it in the light. There's a high spot right here. And the filler is down in there filling in that little gap, but you need to bring down the high spot in order to get the average of that. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's a good example of that. You can see the high spots being sanded and the low spots are being left alone. And if we need to, we can spray another coat of this. It's a filler primer. It's a 2-in-1 product. It's actually a good thick coat, and it will give you that. I hope you can see that in the video. There's some other areas up here that we have not yet sanded yet. You can see a whole line of it right here. Stuff that needs to be knocked down with the high spots and averaged out. But it's coming right along. We'll have a coat of white on this before long. Just not right away. You don't want to rush it. Again, we're not going for Barrett Jackson here. We're going for 10-foot paint job. And really, I have to applaud the delivery guys. This was a delivery van for a number of years, and now it's getting sold. But the delivery guys who were running this was their livelihood. And it was not their job to paint it and make it look pretty, but it was their job to maintain the vehicle. And they did a really good job of that. There's absolutely no rust on this car whatsoever. It's just a lot of rough paint. So we're going to take care of that and make it a marketable product. Well, on some of these areas where you kind of have to get it with your hands because it's kind of a irregular shape and you can't get the sander in there, it's good to use a sanding block. This is really nifty because it keeps you from making grooves or dents in the texture and in the layer. You can keep it, you know, kind of on a plane and move it in there. So some people have used like just a piece of wood or something like that. Wood is a little too unforgiving, and you can make some Mars in it, but that's a cheap way of going with it. But this is a nifty little product that we found a long time ago that works really well. Has a little bit of give, just a very slight little bit of give, and it has kind of soft surface, so it's not going to cause any marring. You do still have to manage, clogging. What I do with the clogging, both on this and on my electric sander, is once the sanding material gets clogged up, I'll just run a wire brush on it. This is a stainless wire brush. Cleans it right up, and then you can keep going. That way you don't have to keep throwing away your sandpaper. All right, so 3 coats. 2 light coats and 1 moderate coat. No heavy coats, but 3 light coats, and this is done. It's nice and smooth. Got a nice uniform color. You know what? It was easy enough to do. Just had to go through a couple of extra steps to make sure that it was done right. And so this is a lot better looking than what it was. Let me pop a picture real quick of what it used to look like, and you can take a quick comparison. Sorry about the lighting. Still working outside. Having issues with bugs, but this is, like I said, not Barrett Jackson. This is just make it look good from 10 feet. So there you go. That's the hood. Now we're going to start working on the quarter panel. Here's a good example of what the first coat looks like. You can see it's kind of ghosty. You can see you can see the primer behind it, but the first coat is not covering. You don't want to cover in the first coat. The first coat is a sealing coat. And after you get the second coat, you may even want to wet sand it if you feel any texture problems, or if anything chemically or a bug gets stuck in there. But the third coat is your finish coat. So anyway, that's kind of what that looks like. We're moving on. We got a whole lot of truck to do. But again, this is just patch up. So we're going to feather this in. We're just going to do the outside edges on this. Not going to paint the entire door. So, trying to stay practical. That should be about it for this project. Came out pretty good. Let me get some good stills. The whole idea behind selling a car online is that you need to, you can't kick the tires and whatnot. So you got to give as much information as you can when you build the profile on the vehicle. So that's what we're going to work on right now. We're going to get a couple of pictures and take some measurements and help people to make a good decision when they're making their purchase online. All right, so that's some nice shots I got of that. Let's go ahead and finish this up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this in and make sure that we got a clean title. That's one of those things you really want to say when you're describing a vehicle is runs and drives, clean title, no accidents. This has no accidents. There's a couple of little defects. I pointed out with some of the photos that there's a chip on the windshield there, a little bit of a crack on the windshield. And my lovely wife, who did a great job of patching up this little seat issue here. I love her for that. That's really great. I love when she participates. Go team. Anyway, we're gonna probably start this thing out at around $7,000. It has some really good attributes, and I think it would make a really good van for somebody. The top dollar that you can expect to get on these is around 10, and if it was a POS, you might only get 3 or 4. But we're going to start this at 7, and we'll see how it goes online. If you're at all interested in something like this, you can reach out to me directly and save a little bit of online fees, and we can coordinate a direct sale. Otherwise, look for this on eBay Motors, and we'll get this thing all locked on.